Okay, we will
Got him.
open our meeting.
Better late than never, right?
Open our meeting at, looks like
6:32.
6:32. This is the planning board meeting, Maryland, subcommittee.
I will open the bylaw subcommittee meeting at 6:32,
Okay.
at the same time.
Okay, we have a number of things on our agenda tonight. I guess the first thing that we have is an application for an A&R on lot 35B of Turkey Hill Road. I guess at best, I would say in our review of that A&R plan, it was certainly more complicated than most. And to be perfectly honest with you, we felt we could not make a determination as to whether
You get any,
we could sign it or not.
to get some word back from the.
Yes.
Word? Okay.
So we sent it to town council for review, and I'm not gonna read the whole thing. I think all of you should have a copy of this in your folders. But the very, very beginning part of it, the first paragraph, it says, "You have requested I review the approval not required plan for Turkey Hill Road to determine if it is eligible for endorsement. In my opinion, the A&R should not be endorsed. Lot 1 located on Turkey Hill Road has only 153 feet of frontage, where 200 feet is required." And then she goes on to cite some parts of Mass General Law, and so forth. I think at least in part, she addressed kind of part of my concerns, that this was originally a lot that was non-conforming by today's zoning standards, and what was done in the A&R plan was to create a new non-conforming lot under our present zoning requirements. We have a choice. We can either decide to endorse the plan, or we can deny the plan.
Make a motion to deny the plan.
Second.
Any discussion on that?
I feel if that's what the attorneys recommend, by law, I agree.
I have to concur with that. We paid town council for that, and it seems foolish not to take town council's advice. I'll allow you to briefly speak.
Question?
No arguments
No,
as to.
not arguments.
Yep.
Did anyone let the attorney know that we're not trying to create a lot that conforms to zoning? Did anyone explain to her the situation, or did you just send it off to her and say, does this mean zoning? Because of course she's gonna say no.
I don't know. Can you give any more details as
Yes,
to
what
what
I'm
you
gonna be telling you
requested?
is that the attorney was briefed on the entire situation.
She still says no.
Mhm.
Okay.
Any further discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next, we have some issues regarding Bryce Lemon Estates.
Oh, that just came in today.
And we're kind of in the process, I guess, of doing a number of things with Bryce Lemon. The applicant has requested a release of covenant and bond estimate for phase 2, which we have not received that estimate yet. So really, there's nothing that we can act on regarding that. He had also A&R'd a couple of lots on Main Street in phase 1, which were then not covered by the original release of covenant. And he has submitted a new release of covenant simply regarding those 2 lots on Main Street. And I'm not sure, do we each have a copy of that?
You each have a copy, it's double-sided, I have one copy that's single-sided. and it's attached to that.
Okay,
That's my favorite election.
No.
that's not it.
Good.
And so far, I'm not seeing it.
Is that the drawing, David, and then the partial release of covenant and subdivision control agreement? Those three
Yes,
pieces?
all those things are bundled together, yep.
Okay, thanks. This one, there was, this is one of them, this is the other one, and then should be one there. You got it?
Okay,
There
the
should be
one
three of them.
we are talking about
And there should be
is
subdivision control agreement, yeah, those are the three.
oh,
Right here. No.
okay.
Oh,
I don't think I had that.
Okay, this is, I guess, a little bit confusing. If you look at one side of this paper, it is, I believe, the original release of covenant. No, it is not. Okay. This side of this paper, which refers to lots 31R, 32R, 33R, 34R.
That's in phase one, correct, Norm?
No, that is phase two.
Phase two.
So that,
Okay.
that side of the paper is not relevant.
It's the other side, it's got the
It's
two on
other
it,
side
correct?
that has only the two
All right, that's what I thought.
that we are considering at this point.
So why do we have it on here? Why don't we have a single copy?
That's okay.
Okay.
You got one.
What we will have to sign,
There's the one David
he
did.
has,
have the
that has
single.
it only as one.
It's just for our review.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with
So, I don't know, I guess, you know, we took a look at the A&R, we took a look at the, approved plan for Bryce Lemon, and very clearly, those two lots, which were at one time one lot, which is then A&R'd into two lots, were definitely, shown as being part of phase one. And, it seems, at least to me, reasonable that we do release those lots, since we have released basically phase one.
Question.
Yep.
Why is it that we're talking about Bryce Lemon Estates and it's always covenant executed by Bryce Estates? What's on the plan?
That's the corporation. The corporation that owns the property is Bryce Estates Inc., so that's the one who executes.
Okay.
But the plan is Bryce Lemon, correct?
You guys made me change the name, remember way back when I added
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
covenant piece to it? It's just on the plan, the corporation was already set up.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, any other comments? Anybody? Okay, I'll accept a motion to sign the partial release.
I'll second that. And I'll still moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion? No. In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No.
I just looked at that. Is that right? 150?
No, because it's open space.
Oh, okay, so then you're left. So they can use the open space and A&R in the same terminology. I don't like that.
Once again, here we go with this screen camera.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Boy, I'm already losing my place here. Ah. Hold on. 1 second.
So Norm, we won't be, this other piece in our packet won't be executed because we don't have anything back from,
That is correct.
okay, thanks.
Okay. Okay, finally. Okay, our next agenda item is going to be some deliberations and discussion regarding the development rate limitation bylaw.
Can I ask a question
Mhm.
about the last item?
Mhm.
The, when we had a discussion back, it was, we were asked to, do phase two one amount, and then phase one reduction secondly. So today over email, we got phase one and not phase two, which didn't allow me to vote on the, tri-party agreement.
Mhm.
But are you meeting before this town meeting again, where you could take this up?
I don't believe so. I don't believe we're scheduled to.
We're at the end of the month, right? This is the end of the month,
Yeah,
sorry.
This is the end.
Yeah,
It was ice this morning, it confused me.
Mhm.
we don't meet until the 14th,
And the meeting's
11th is the
11th is
town
town
meeting.
meeting.
And what I believe you are moving towards is for us to somehow or other in advance, at least endorse the release of covenant. Personally, I think it's just taking things out of order. We don't have the bond estimate yet. We haven't had a chance to review the bond estimate. So,
Well, and you can hold on to it, but if you're not gonna meet before then, how do I mean, I know it's taken out of order, but I asked just for one favor, and it was to have him do that one first, so that, you know, obviously, it's just like the one last week, you know, doesn't get back, and so it doesn't, nothing, you know, it didn't allow you to vote on it. So, I mean, why can't you at least say that if everything is in order, it's okay? Because you're not gonna get together again as a board before the meeting.
I'll ask for comments from the rest of the board.
I think town council, I mean, have we spoken, have we relayed any message to
No.
them about their timing?
Well, no, this was from Quinn, this is Quinn.
Oh, from Quinn, okay.
Yeah. Feel we need that before we can even have a
Mhm.
discussion.
Yeah. I'm
We
no
just-
expert on it, so.
Well, we just got the report, literally, it's hot off the presses today.
You didn't get it yet.
No, we haven't gotten the.
We haven't got the bond estimate.
No, but we just got his updated site inspection
Oh,
report.
yeah.
That's hot off the press, from phase one, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm. Yeah. Which basically says mostly nothing.
Yeah, but the bond estimate is for phase two, correct?
Correct.
Okay. But we weren't going to release that until everything in phase one was done, is I guess what I was getting at, is that correct?
I believe we set some expectation dates for
Yep.
two major things. And I
Okay.
think one of them, the sidewalks, was something like July 1st, if I recall correctly.
And then
Access
September for the,
Rail trail.
Rail trail.
okay. But there were some other things that were in his report back then that were supposed to be done before that, like this gravel depth on the roadway verified, and that, in this latest report, I don't see that finalized yet.
No, it isn't.
Okay. I just wanna have some of these little things checked off before we
Mhm.
move on to the next phase, that's just my
Mhm.
opinion.
That's part of the second phase.
Oh, it is?
Gravel,
The gravel,
there's
yes.
18 inches of base and 6
Yeah.
inches of good gravel, that's what
It's in
the
the
town
second
regs.
phase.
So what he said was, there were stones in there bigger than 6 inches,
Yeah.
so he wanted to check it. It's in the second phase. It's not in
Okay, I thought it was in the, because this was
Yeah, so-
supposedly on the first phase. Okay,
So what he's saying is he wants that, to check that before we put the top 6 inches on and then put the base coat of
all right.
asphalt.
We gotta ask him next time to define which phase he's looking at, because this report doesn't tell me.
Yeah,
But
it
what-
doesn't, I don't recall that.
Okay. And then the other thing was this recharge in here about the groundwater. Looks like he was looking for calcs. Is that on phase 1 or phase 2?
No, that's a long story. You want me to get into it?
Nope.
Okay.
I'll wait till the numbers come out.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, what's your pleasure?
Moving on.
Moving on, okay, then we move on.
14th, then are we putting it on the 14th agenda then?
We'll have it on the
It-
14th agenda.
It
and
would make
hopefully-
sense.
Hopefully, we'll have the report at that time
And the,
and the bond estimate, and
Mhm.
we're ready to go.
Yes. Okay. Next agenda item, yes?
I don't have an agenda.
Fine.
Okay, is the zoning bylaw amendment, some discussion and, whatever. I guess, are you taking my papers? No, you're not. Don't mind me.
Taking these chairs.
Okay, I guess I would first like to remind everyone, while this is a public meeting, it is not a public hearing on this development bylaw. And we have, either due to town council or our own, the information that we received at the public hearing, have decided that we may make some minor changes, some minor tweaks to the bylaw. At this point, our deliberations are not going to be open to discussion. Okay, it is time for us to deliberate. Later in this meeting, I certainly will give an opportunity for anyone from the public who wishes to speak on, I guess, any subject for that matter. But not until we settle on the things that we think that we need to make corrections to. Okay? Dave, I think I'd like to call on you to try to help keep us organized as to what we had found from the public hearing.
Sure. I think 3 of the items were captured in the minutes of the growth management steering committee, also sent to the board as an email. There were 3 motions that were made there. Those 3 motions capture items that were discussed on the 23rd. So you should find in your packet a copy of the meeting minutes of the growth management steering committee.
Getting.
to get rid of it.
Tell you, we got too many papers here.
Am I missing?
Just, okay.
Small
Okay,
meeting.
it's,
April 24th, yeah.
okay. Okay, there were,
Oh, I know this one is over here.
there were 3 motions from the steering committee, and that is regarding okay, I'm just gonna find the right place here. Under,
You want me to go into these?
Yeah, go ahead.
please.
All right, so the first one, I'll just go through this. So discussion regarding section 4C, issuance of building permits and 25% limitation upon building entities. So the motion here was, or the recommendation is that a request upon the planning board, file a subcommittee to the planning board to consider adding, to consider inclusion of the word subdivision to further specify the intention of 4C.
That was the second motion, wasn't it?
I don't know, I see 3 on this paper, and that
Thank
was
you,
the
that,
first.
yes, you're correct, that was the second one.
Right.
So, want we do the first one first, or we do the second one first?
Let's just get the second one, we were talking about it.
Okay, we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Go ahead. 4C.
Yeah, so 4C, the inclusion of the word in subdivision will further specify the intention. I wasn't at that meeting, so I'm not really clear as to what the intent was, but you were there, and you wrote motion there, so what was,
Well, it felt that it was better than the dwelling unit. Chris.
Okay, what's in there now is one applicant or set of applicants.
Yeah.
You want to remove that and replace that by subdivision?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, how does it read? No more than 20 duly for a new dwelling shall be issued to any subdivision.
Last sentence?
That's the last sentence on C.
This one.
Principal.
Right.
It was the principal.
It was the principal. No, on this one right here.
Pardon?
That was the.
Instead of
initial.
principles,
This
it was
is
So the
subdivision.
one of the
principal
very
was gonna
first
be turned into subdivision.
Subdivisions.
Yes, that's what I thought we were talking about, not the applicant, but the
This
principals.
would be subdivision.
Okay. How come you don't have the same copy that I have?
Because I couldn't find your, the one, this is the first draft,
Oh, that's the first draft, so okay, sorry,
but it was.
I'm gonna go with what I believe was in our packets is the latest draft.
yes, that's correct.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
so if we're making changes, it has to be changes to
This
the
one.
last draft.
which is the one in our packet.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and I thought,
Okay.
no, the principles was, that was, if I remember the explanation, and David, you tell me if I'm wrong, the principles was there, so if 2 or 3 people have, like a family of 3 people in a building community, you couldn't send your son, and your other son in to get building permits for that same subdivision. Is that,
Exactly
that's what the
right.
principles was there for, so I'm trying to figure out where the subdivision fits into this.
Okay.
Because I thought there was some wording in the in the
what-
202.
Right,
One effect, at least that I see right now, is that if, let's say, one entity has more than one active subdivision, okay, then they can't get a certain number for one subdivision, and then again, another certain number for another subdivision.
So, did,
That's the way I'm seeing it anyway.
but did we want to add on to this then and say, like we've got applicants involving 1 or more of the same principles within a single year for a subdivision? Because I don't think we can just insert subdivision for a replacement word in this paragraph, is what I'm saying. Okay? Norm, can we recognize the chairman of the Growth Management Bylaw Committee for a clarification?
Well, you were there for the discussion, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And I took the minutes.
Took the
Oh.
minutes.
Chairman is?
What do you mean?
Yep.
May I be heard?
Yes.
Okay, so Jeff Stillings with the Board of Selectmen and Chair and took the minutes of the last Managed Growth Steering Committee. And so and I also sent the email to the board. The three recommendations were based on suggestions by the public, specifically Michael Sullivan, who had worked on a 2002 draft. And his request was, in section 4C, it wasn't to replace any one word or phrase, was to consider just the inclusion of the word subdivision in there to further specify the intention.
That's what I thought.
So
we
that
added
was
into
simply
the
forwarded
sentence.
to you, just to make it a little bit clearer. So that was just forwarded to you for action deemed necessary.
So we'd have to add like another adjective phrase onto this sentence to include subdivision.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. I
Yes.
guess the only question I'd have is, 4C was meant to apply to just 25% of the building permits issued by, that could be authorized by three, not a type of building permit, but any building permit. So if you add subdivision, then is it just about subdivisions? Is that the only thing that would be subject to the 25%?
Yeah, because through the chair, I thought what we were trying to do was manage the amount of,
Hands that are
yeah, how am I saying
in the
this?
pot.
Yeah, manage the amount of building permits that are given out to one person. I thought that's what 4C was trying to do. You're basically not gonna give them all out, so it's only 25%. And but to David's point, question is if we put subdivisions, then we've just basically limited it to subdivisions, not to, but under exemptions, we exempt A and R, so does it really matter if we put subdivisions in there?
That would be the only reference we have that directly singles out subdivisions.
Mhm.
The bylaw is basically about, first of all, the bylaw is about the total number of building permits allowed, and including, I guess I'll just call it a fairness clause that does not allow one person to gobble up all of the building permits. I don't think putting the word subdivision in there
Makes a difference.
makes a difference. I don't think it does anything.
I gotta think about this. Yeah, you don't have the 2000, you got the 2002. Where's the 25%? Oh, here it is. Question, 20%.
By the way, folks, if you think this is tedious, yes, it is. Okay, and whether we were talking about this, whether we were talking about not too long ago when we wrote our recreational marijuana bylaw, this is the process. It is, by its nature, just very, very tedious, and it isn't something you can just sit down and slap some words down on a piece of paper.
Here's a 25% right there.
No, I think that's a good point, that's interjecting the subdivisions into the whole, the whole article without really, having a reason to make that distinction.
I don't see it in the 2002 anywhere about subdivisions so far. Under the 25% section, it did mention.
Huh?
5.4.
I'm looking at 5.5, which is the cap on.
2002. This is,
It's under 5.4?
Well, I see reference to subdivision in the annual cap subdivision phase of 5.4.
So that's a number 4, this guy right here. This 5.4 here. Annual cap for subdivision phasing. But see what they did in this 2002 through the chair, it looks like they came up with 2 individual sections, annual cap for subdivision and for individual, which we didn't do. So there is a difference. So I don't think using one, and this is my opinion, using one sentence trying to capture both of them is gonna be useful to us, in my opinion. Unless we were to go back and emulate the 5.4 and 5.5.
I think it's a little bit late in the game for that.
Well, that's my point. It's, I don't.
Well,
Yeah, I know, I just don't know how to do it, Dick. That's the problem I've got. How do you get that subdivision in there? Because you almost need definitions of this annual capital like they did here. Because over here.
I think it's, would actually be redundant. The word, the same principles would cover someone who was applying for subdivisions or for a regular, a non-subdivision lot.
I think that's a reasonable point.
Yep. Through the chair, the other thing to add on that, remember what Marilyn said, because 3 defines dwelling units, and 4C, we talk about dwelling units. If we put subdivision there, we're sort of getting out of our definitions. Is what I'm a little bit worried about. So that's why I agree with you, Marilyn. We've defined it in 3, we've replicated it in 4C, let's just leave it alone.
what did the building inspector have to say? Would he, how would he look at it?
How would I look at it? I'm just a common man.
Well,
Join the crowd.
You gotta make it easy to figure out.
Ready for a motion?
Yeah, I think we're gonna do this by motion. So,
I make a motion that we not add the word subdivisions for the reason that it would be redundant, and it's not in any other parts of the article or the bylaw.
I'll second that.
discussion for, I still say you should have something in there with the subdivision in there.
Why?
It's explicit, individual versus subdivision, period.
Principles covers that.
It's gonna be a person applying for the permits. A person applying gets 3 permits, is that correct? They get a set number of permits when they apply for permits, whether they're an individual or a subdivision. If you're a subdivision, you still only get 3.
Okay.
What?
Yeah, but hey, the person that's name is on as the applicant could be the new owner of the house. He could be the applicant,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Well, you're just, it's, Yeah, it could be. I mean, it could either be the owner of the land or the person who's gonna build on it. When you apply for a building permit, does the person?
Sometimes it's a contractor, sometimes it's the homeowner, sometimes it's the homeowner with listing the contractor. Depends who owns the land and who wants to apply for it, I guess.
Mhm.
That's the game Sundin plays in Holden. Give me the land to build on, then I get the permit.
So there's no set regulation that says who can, currently that says who can apply?
Really?
So,
I still think that principals cover subdivisions or a builder or subdivision or the
The
landowner.
contractor could have 3 or 4 subdivisions going,
But you can
going on.
only have 3 permits.
3 permits per month. Right, you're saying?
and the total, and this is where I want to clarify, which I've just got to get clear in my mind. That individual who applies for the permits gets 9 a year based upon this 4C. If you do 25%, it's 9 a year. Doesn't matter if he's got 7 subdivisions, 1 subdivision, or 7 or 9 A&Rs. He gets 9 per year for that individual.
Right.
Is that a
Right.
correct statement? Okay, I'm good with that then.
But what if someone else applies for the permit?
Well, then, it's still, let's leave, I'll use my good buddy Dick as an example, not to be, if Dick has a construction company and he applies for 9 building permits throughout the year, he can't go any more than that based on 4C. But if he had 9 of those lots that he was gonna build on, and the individual went to apply for the permits and to build it, he could still build the house there, but the permit is by the landowner. So he still has 9 permits open to him. If I'm, and is that correct?
I believe so.
Okay.
Is that what you want?
No, that's what I'm trying to ask.
Oh,
I'm curious, is that the situation?
And
That's what I'm trying to feel through right now. I'm playing chess right now is what I'm doing.
yeah,
See,
well, yeah, well, this is a thought that's been,
the number is on dwellings, right?
yes,
Just dwellings.
mhm,
So a duplex would be 2 dwellings.
mhm,
correct.
yep. Mhm.
So,
Well,
We're gonna need a
I
bulletproof
think
vest.
that's your point,
Yeah.
yeah.
well, that's what I'm trying to get at. Is it dwellings, does that indicate land or house?
House,
House, the permit is actually on the house.
yeah.
It's a
That's
building
that's common
permit.
language.
Okay, I just, not being a builder, can me personally take out a house as a GC and have somebody else build it for me?
Sure you can.
Yeah,
Okay, that's what I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Okay, just, again,
You could
asking.
take out a permit and build your own house.
Okay,
That's legal.
okay. That's what I'm trying to feel for is this gonna have teeth or is it not gonna have teeth? That's what I was trying to get at.
Well, there's, I guess maybe there's where subdivision kind of does come back into play.
so are we, through the chair, are we trying to, is the goal here to limit the number of buildings that are put up in town? And why does it matter whether they're in a subdivision or not in a subdivision?
Who pulls the permit?
The-
You mean? Why would it matter?
Pardon me?
Why would it matter who, if I may through the chair, who, doesn't matter who pulls the permit, we're,
It's still the
Could be
same
one,
number,
yeah.
it's still the same number of houses
Houses,
at the
yeah.
end of the year.
At the end of the year, okay, this particular part is really, unless I'm reading this
Make it-
totally wrong, refers only to, the 25% cap. The 25% of the buildings. It doesn't refer to the total cap.
No, this was just trying to make it fair to make sure one
Right.
person wouldn't.
And,
go 36.
and, not to cast aspersions on our local builders, but what I think we're dealing with here is we are trying to, or we are saying, I guess, do we need to include something in this bylaw that is not going to allow a subdivision principal from selling a lot to a private party, and then that private party going and getting a building permit?
That was my concern back.
Because in theory, they would be allowed 3.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't make sense. All this doesn't make
They're gonna
sense.
get on they're gonna get on a waiting list, right?
Doesn't say that in here.
No, we don't have any provision in there for a quota waiting list. The only thing.
Well, how's this gonna work?
The only thing there is the total at the end of the year. There is a procedure
Right.
for covering that. We gotta do this tonight.
Have we convinced you?
No,
No, I'm the same boat. Not convinced. I think
I'm-
it's,
I'm
I think it's too
sorry.
open.
So you want to specifically state that, I gotta read this again.
Problem is, I've read this.
No more than 25% of building permits authorized by Section 3 for new dwelling units shall be issued to any one applicant or set of applicants involving one or more of the same principals within a single year. And you want to add the word subdivision?
subdivision or
How about
I was
after,
wondering-
how about after the word principles? In a single subdivision within a single year.
That actually might work. That might fix this and the individuals.
sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah, Norm, I could live with that.
Roll it out.
Tell me again, within a single,
Well,
Yeah, no,
Are you asking
no,
my opinion? Here's my opinion on it, and I would like to address everybody. I personally feel, as a member of this planning board, that we need more time to work on this bylaw, to get it straight, within the limited time that we have for the meeting. So therefore, I do not endorse it, and I'm going to step back from it. I don't believe that it's fair, and I don't believe that we really know what we're doing, and we're trying to rush it. And by rushing it, it seems like we're all confused with things that we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah. I'd like to give, a little bit later on tonight, I'd like to give everybody an opportunity to speak to that sort of thing.
Okay.
Okay.
so you said the
But
same.
my head's spinning over all this, and I don't want to be rushed on it.
Going back to this one, you said
Okay,
one or more of
after
the
the-
same, of
af-
the same principles or the same subdivision?
In the sen-
One single
Single,
subdivision.
So it's right after principles, correct, Norm?
Yep.
Yeah, I like that.
within one single subdivision.
all right.
Okay, do you want to withdraw your motion to not put subdivision in?
Hey, wait a minute. I just remembered I'm co-chairman here. Yeah, I'll withdraw it within one single true principles.
I'll
Same, so
entertain
we
a
have
new
the same within one.
motion.
Motion to add in one single subdivision
After the word principles
after the word principals, yes.
in section 4C.
4C,
Which section?
Section 4C.
4C.
Let's see.
Do I hear a second?
Second, anyone?
Second.
Okay, once again, any discussion? In favor?
All right.
Aye.
Nay. Watch, I abstain, so
Okay. Yeah. Either way,
I'm not going to vote on this anymore. We get everybody in order.
it's not fun. It's not
Well,
fun.
I think we're being rushed on it.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid
Okay,
something,
yeah.
we're not gonna cover something, we're not gonna have it done right,
Well-
and it could open up the town for a lawsuit.
The thing is, it's on the warrant. We have to have something. you
We
know.
have to have our endorsement, right?
We have to.
They gotta have a bylaw
We
to
have
put
to
it.
we have to present something to the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
But we also have to make a recommendation.
We also have to make a recommendation.
So that's the
which-
next
Which we're gonna do,
discussion.
which we're gonna do separately.
Right.
All right,
Okay.
Dave.
So the second, well, the first one had to do with a recommendation,
Stealing this, 'cause
with the recommendation relative to the inclusion of the last sentence of the 2002 draft under section 5.5, cap on individual applicants, which reads unchanged. If the number of requested permits exceeds the annual cap, then permits shall be issued on a prorated basis to each requester with the number of permits issued based on an equal percentage of each applicant's outstanding request, calculated as the total number of permits remaining divided by the total number of building permit requests. This one we took a crack at and have provided some language that might work as an exemption under
5G, right?
5G.
A new section, section 5G. Okay. Section 5G, which means a new section.
A new section, that's the
This is
Surprise.
a little bit of a change in that, but anyway. Okay, and there is still one other change that I suggested, but let's just read it first of all. Unused permits, as of the last business day of the calendar year where the annual cap has not been reached, and there would need to be probably a semicolon in there or something like that instead of a period. Permits shall be issued on a prorated basis to each requester with the number of permits issued based on an equal percentage of each applicant's outstanding request, calculated as the total number of permits remaining divided by the total number of permit requests.
Dave, may I suggest to the chair that we put this nice little table that was in 2002 under that, if we're going to do it, because you just described a calculation that somebody normally might not get, but this example applicant A, B, and C seems like a good reference in a bylaw that's in 2002 that we're reading. Because the wording's identical to 202, what you guys just read.
The wording is identical?
Identical.
Okay, so, okay, the only other change that is not on what your printed copy is in the second line, it says on a prorated basis to each requester. Second line, I
Yep.
suggested that be changed to applicant, not requester.
That's fine.
So, okay, any further discussion on this one at all?
Do we use applicant throughout this, or do?
I believe we do.
Okay, then I'm fine, Norm. I just want to check to make sure we had our wording correct throughout this document.
Motion to accept this as read.
Okay. Do I hear a second on this one? Well, as read, with the inclusion of the table from the 2002.
Yeah, that's what we asked.
With a, okay, with a table, with an inclusion of the table as an
Second.
example.
Okay. Okay, discussion on this one. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
What was the reason that we wait until the end of the year?
What is the reason to wait till the end of the year?
Because there's an annual cap through the chair, I was thinking
Yeah.
as a reason.
But isn't there a monthly cap?
It's a
Well, we
month.
did it quarterly, wasn't it
Quarterly,
quarterly?
And
We were
the other
talking-
one, I think it was, monthly, quarterly, whatever. The,
Which one did you do?
at least partly the purpose, at least in my mind, to this, and I guess I can't, off the top of my head, come up with why wait to the end of the year. But the idea is to make this cap actually a cap set at the number in the first sections, 36. Without this, it is very likely that the actual cap would end up being something less than that each year because of the other restrictions.
Plus, through the chair, we talk about a single calendar year, so you're trying to cap, and this is my opinion, that the entire calendar year, not individual months or quarters. So you're putting 36, and at the end of the year, if the 36 hasn't been allocated,
I'm not saying it couldn't be done also
If
quarterly.
you're doing three a month, you get to the point where, let's say, slow year,
Mhm.
you're doing 3 a month, you're
Right.
issuing 3 permits a month. Do you wanna issue 3 permits 1st of December? Most people get all their permits ahead of time and start their houses a little earlier on in the year.
that's a good point.
They're gonna be pulling a permit in December, pouring concrete in
You
January.
don't,
You
you
know.
don't build in the winter.
I don't know, around here they seem to.
Can't say that, can't say that at
They
all.
don't stop, but they, you know,
It slows down.
I don't know how it's gonna work. All I can
So-
see is people are gonna pull permits, they're gonna come in with their applications, drop them down with the check, and they're gonna say, when can we start? Well, you can start, you're on the list, you can start at December.
Well, let's put it this way, we certainly can't move it to the first day of the calendar year.
What?
We can't move it to the first day of the calendar year, that doesn't work at all.
Let me
Uh,
confused.
I guess
Is,
I've gotta change my frame of thought here. Let's just take, for example, could we divide the year in half? And say if
I wouldn't want the house that starts in December, to tell you the truth.
if less than half the permitted annual cap
What good is it if it's like you just pay taxes?
permits have been issued by June 30th? That the halfway through? Yeah. By June 30th, then up to 50% of the annual cap permits may be granted. And then the second half at December.
Run the year for a fiscal year, the town fiscal year?
Town fiscal year is July to July, we don't want to do that.
No, this was set up for calendar.
Yeah.
But for 6 months, I kinda like what it's gone and done. I think that's a good way.
If I may, Bill, can you post-date permits? Like, I go up to you and get the permit. I don't know, I don't build, so I don't know how really.
Oh,
someone
you're
goes to get
supposed to start your project within 180 days.
Okay. So that's
6 months from the
Yeah.
next
6
time.
months. But what I'm thinking is, you're gonna have, like, say this goes through. You're gonna get a bunch of people come in with permit applications, drop them on the desk, all completely ready. It's gonna be done in Viewpoint anyways, online.
How are we
And,
gonna regulate that on,
Well, there's
It's
gonna be a
done
date on
online.
that.
Still-
but-
do I have to
It's a
sign it?
timestamp whenever they come in.
Yeah, there's a date on that, but we have to make sure, we have to do a completeness report before it's legitimate. And then that person will be on a wait list, right?
Until the permit frees up for the.
Right. So he, well,
Till health
you'll
is-
get yours in December. You can't have yours till January.
See, through the chair, this is
It's
where I'm,
gonna be
this is where
kinda
I'm
lousy.
struggling.
whole
is
thing-
if we're gonna give 3 a month, and we wanna have the ability at the end of the year to give extras over, I'm struggling with how that's gonna work, because suppose, and I'm just thinking out loud, again, January, February, March, lousy years, lousy months to build, we get 200 inches of snow, so nothing happens. Well, that's 9 permits that haven't been issued. Well, we can't issue 9 extra permits in April because there's only 3 a month. So do we have to wait to the end of the year to give those out, or there's where I'm struggling with?
That's where he's coming up with,
Oh,
end
at
of
6 months, then 6 months, then
then
we can release them
Yeah.
if there's extra ones. I'm good with that. Because it'd be in the summertime when it'd be released,
For the first half.
for the first half, yeah.
Jeff, any ideas?
Scrap the whole thing. That's a good idea.
Section 4B, I think kind of addresses what you had
Carried
previously
forward.
written, that there's not gonna be a
Okay.
carry forward.
Okay, I like that,
Dale,
Jeff.
on the-
I apologize.
Okay.
So we can move it, so the next month, if December wasn't anything, oh, I'm sorry, if January wasn't any permits issued, the next month we could issue 6 in January because the 3 got moved forward, is that correct?
Unused permits will be carried forward for the next month, yes. But
Okay.
the end of the cycle is December 31st.
Yes, December
Yeah.
31st, you can't move 36 into the next year.
Right.
It's 36 that year, then we start all over again. I'm good with this then, the way it's written on 3B.
Okay.
4B.
4B, I'm sorry. That's the last time I go and eat food over there. So, I don't think we need to do anything then, because
Then do
this
we-
sort of takes care of it, right?
Do we need G at all, this new G?
Um,
Yeah, nobody else is asking for permits except for a guy who uses the business limit. He
Yeah.
says, okay, only you getting 9 permits all year, nobody else is building this town of
You,
9.
you can give him extra 2 permits with this G, I like that. That G allows somebody to get unused permits that they've reached their 9, correct? Is that what I'm hearing? So, for example, Dick's built 9 houses, he's reached his cap. But at the end of the year, there's 6 permits still unissued. He could come back in and try to get one of those 6. Is that what I'm understanding with this G?
Yes.
Perfect, that's what I want to hear. I'm good with that then. I think we need to keep G.
Okay.
Before the end of the year,
Yeah. Yeah, so if somebody came in December and wanted, they reached their 9 and they want another 6, and there's 6 open, and nobody else wants them, they can take it. Doesn't matter if they've reached their 9 this year.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
Do I have a motion on this one?
Already did, didn't
A motion to accept G added to the bylaw
Yeah.
in this form as presented,
Mm-hmm.
with the exception that requester can change the applicant.
Okay. Second? Okay, any further discussion on this one? In favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Okay. I think we're on to the last one.
Yes.
Ooh, I got some strong opinions on this one.
So the last one has to do with
55.
the bylaw subcommittee requesting the planning board consider removing the numeric handicap limit, 55 and over housing units, leaving the count open-ended. This would be the exception, section 5B.
Through the chair,
Yeah.
this is my opinion for that. And again, this is my strong opinion, I'd like to eliminate B. After listening and talking, and I don't think we've had any discussions with the COA on what's the requirement for the amount of needs in the town for 55, so this is my opinion, remove it.
I don't have a problem with it. with removing it.
Is that a motion?
Well, I want to get some discussion before I
Okay.
make a motion.
Well, make a motion, a second, and then we'll have a discussion.
I make a motion to remove 5B from the bylaw.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it. Just
Okay,
Does that mean that it will not be exempt?
no. It means there will be no limit.
There'll be no
limit.
limit.
Oh, it means,
So I guess you could build as many 55
I
and,
want to eliminate
You
that.
just eliminated it.
yeah, we
Yeah.
just
Oh.
Now it just actually fell into the cap, boys.
Whoops.
eliminating the whole thing.
Okay,
That always was.
okay,
don't understand
okay.
why we need more time with
Why-
this?
Right.
we got plenty of time.
5 days?
Oh, you got plenty
Well,
of
I
time.
mean, with,
Yeah,
Yeah.
let me see. We'll speak on that.
I think the solution might be something to the effect of dwelling units that are age restricted to resident owners 55 years and older.
Period.
And that's been struck.
Mhm.
Then it
Okay.
stays in as the exemption
Yeah.
and it removes the cap of 10.
I'll take that friendly amendment and add that.
And I'll change my second to that.
Okay. Any further discussion?
You okay?
So we're eliminating the last sentence.
Yeah, we basically, that-
Because my whole thought process was this, was
exemption.
I wanted 55 and older to build as many as they want in town. I don't have an issue with that. That's what I was trying to get across.
okay.
Right.
So maybe it was my incorrect. Okay, to leave 55, okay.
Right.
All right.
Any further discussion on this one? In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Were there any other
Yes, there
items
was,
that came up?
let me see here. I believe it was under 8, to add a clause to the effect that the town administrator or his designee would prepare a report as to the effectiveness of the bylaw prior to it being considered again for a second term.
I like that.
I do have a discussion like, who's gonna pay for that study? To have it done, CMRPC again, or?
It would be the town administrator's jurisdiction to decide whether he's gonna do it himself on his own time,
Or make a
or whether
budget,
he's going to
put a budget line item in.
hire, you know, the Cap Bylaw Corporation of America to come in, create a report.
But if it's in a bylaw, it has to be done, correct, Noel, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken?
Right.
Okay.
So moved.
Do I hear a second on that one?
Second, sorry, no, go ahead, Marilyn.
Any further discussion? In favor?
All right.
Aye.
And that,
Tell me when we get to open
I
discussion.
think that was it,
I think that's it.
unless something comes to mind of the word up here.
Through the chair, I've got one, I'm struggling with 6, is it 6? 6D. If we're, it's under the special permit, if I'm not mistaken. And if we've just eliminated anything for 55 and older cap, do we need a special permit for it?
That probably would still,
Oh,
That's what I'm getting at, I just wanna make sure we're
that's still in our
consistent.
bylaws as it is now, correct?
Actually, I think that if I could, the special permit is probably still necessary because the exemptions said, is stated as follows. The following shall be exempt from the provisions of this bylaw. Units exempted under B, which is the dwelling units for age restricted, is exempted under B, shall nevertheless be counted toward the permit total established at 3 above, so it's still subject to the cap. The special permit would allow for more of such housing to be greater than the cap by special
Oh.
permit.
okay.
So,
Okay.
it's special, elderly housing is now subject to the cap?
Yes,
Only,
I don't like
only in
that.
excess of
Then,
the 36.
36.
36?
Yep, see,
It's an exemption.
that's not an exemption, that's my tough part, yeah.
In other words, up to the 36 permits, depending on who applies, okay? Senior housing can be applied for,
They count as part of the 36?
Yes.
Yes.
I thought that was exempted, they don't count.
Yeah, well, the
originally
problem
it
is
was.
that, to Dave's point, the second sentence in the exemptions does not allow that.
No, I,
It's not exempt.
Units exempt under B, C, and E shall nevertheless be counted towards the permit total established in 3 above.
Steering committee's intent was it wasn't, we just heard.
right.
Yeah, so that's why I was
So,
thinking that you need to
steering-
change 5 and take B out of the count, if I'm not mistaken. In section 5,
Yeah.
units exempt under B, C, and E below, it should be under C and E, no B. If our intent is to make the senior housing exempt, we need to get that B out of there.
Right.
And then you wouldn't need a special permit,
What is the other one?
because there'd be
So
no
A and
exemption,
R
if I'm
is
not
in
mistaken,
those?
David. Is that, if we took B out of 5, in the first paragraph that you just read, would there be a need for a special permit if it's not counted towards the cap?
If you take, yeah, so, if you say units exempted under C and E shall nevertheless be counted toward the permit total established in 3, that's the 36. So if you take B out, then B is not subject to the cap of 36.
And you wouldn't need D in 6, correct?
You wouldn't need a portion of D
Oh, okay.
in 6.
You just need the people of low and moderate income conform with the master plan left in there? Okay, I'm fine with that.
So A and R lots are part of the 36?
Correct.
So what does it mean to exempt them?
Segmented.
A&R,
The A and Rs, what they would, I think, would,
if you have a lot.
What does that language do?
It allows a single owner, 1 building permit.
Okay, but he gets it now anyways.
Correct.
Whether or not a single owner gets, that's not an exemption, if it's in the numbers.
It doesn't count. as
No.
a cap.
It needs
No,
to
it
be
counts
exempted
towards the
from the
numbers.
36.
Is that one of the 36?
No.
No.
Well, it is.
Yes,
He
it
just
is.
said- He just read it, so that it was.
There it is.
yeah, it is actually, because
Yeah.
here it says C and E
C.
There's
shall
no
be counted
exemption.
towards.
Right.
This is so
Okay.
ill-conceived, so,
Took it out of your handbook.
not
This
my
one-
handbook.
This one right here, segment shall mean 1 or more divisions of the land. What they're basically saying is if you A&R a lot, and I could be wrong here, that you can't get 2 building permits if you segment that land in 2
Mhm.
pieces again, is that what it's trying to get
Yeah.
at?
Mhm.
So if you A&R it, you can't get, A&R it again and then get 2 building permits for that piece of it.
Right.
I get what they're trying to do, but,
I don't,
I just, and you can't do that within 36 months prior to applying, so it's basically saying you can't. Oh, boy. So do we need to, I apologize, do we need a motion to take B out? Or 5?
Out of, the title of section 5, the title paragraph.
I'll do it as one big motion. I'll motion to remove section B from the first paragraph of 5, and also to remove under 6D, housing for persons 55 and older from that section, to make it correct.
May I make a suggestion that we remove units exempted under B, C, and F? Take the B out of that. Units exempted under B. Take under B out.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say, and then also, at the same time, over on D, get rid of the housing for 55 years and older, and the word and just let that D start with people of low and moderate income.
why wouldn't you just make the exemptions exempt? end your opening sentence, and exemptions, ended after paragraph, after the first sentence. The following uses are exempt, period. So it's dwelling units that's by the Commonwealth under a statutory program, over 55, A&R lots, replacement if a house burns down, let them rebuild it. Those are the things that are supposed to be exempt. If you're gonna be exempt, call it exempt.
Yeah.
That's not what we're supposed to have the limits for. The limits are supposed to be on the other ones, the 36. Make an exemption, rather than play these games.
Well. Yeah, it's trying to close loopholes, if I'm not mistaken.
I just pulled these from other,
Did this get pulled from?
whereabouts was this one pulled, you know, this exemption stuff?
That's what I'm looking right now.
Okay,
You
at
remember?
at the top of 5, first of all, we're definitely scratching B.
That's what I'd like, yeah. Let's just do one at a time. I'll make a motion to remove B from section 5. So it would read, units exempt under C and E below, comma, shall nevertheless be counted towards the permit total established in section 3, comma, above, semicolon.
Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Any further discussion on that one? In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that one's done.
Now, my second motion would be to go over to section 6, special permits, section B, and remove the words housing, remove the word for, remove persons, remove 55, remove years, remove and, remove older, and remove and. So section D would start with people.
Do I have a second on that one?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What did we do about B under 5, dwelling units? Did we eliminate that?
No, what we did, through the chair, we got the first dwelling units that are age restricted to resident owners 55 and older, period.
Okay,
That's the exception.
yeah. Did we vote on that?
Yes, we did. Were there any others, Dave? that You know of?
I don't believe so, unless the board had anything else that it remembers that the staff was not able to capture.
The only other question through the chair I had is, was the intent of this bylaw just to be 10 years and that's it? I guess I'm trying to figure that out, because that's what this basically is. It's 5 years plus another 5, and that's it, then we gotta start all over.
Correct.
Well, I'm not
You can
gonna
get
say
5, and then
necessarily
you
was it the
Yeah.
intent of time, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad idea.
Okay, I just
I
was
think
curious.
enough can change over
Yeah.
a period of 10 years. that You need to take a completely fresh look.
All right.
And it still has to go through town meeting at the end of 5 years anyway. So if the people feel that it's not justified, they kill it.
And there better be a report with it too,
Yeah.
for effectiveness. Okay.
So, just for the record, A&Rs are no longer exempt.
Based on C?
From the total cap, no.
Well, what are they exempt from? I guess I don't understand, what else would they be exempt from, if it's not the total cap?
Excuse me,
No, C is not, C and E are not.
one A and R to one single person
Okay,
is exempt. If all 36 building permits have been issued and a person comes in, they have never asked for another building permit, have not asked for another building permit in that year, they get that one permit and that's it.
That's exempt from the 36.
Yes. Yes.
Is a special permit on an estate lot considered an A and R? You know, you
It
have a
is.
5 acre lot
Yeah,
that
it is.
you already got an approval to build on. What can you do with those?
It would be considered an A and R,
Consider an A and R.
yes.
Which is
Okay.
exempt.
Yeah.
When we're all done the discussion, I'd like to say a few words.
Few.
Just a few, I'm very short, I've always gotten up only for a few seconds. And I'm very kind usually.
Just hold on a little bit, okay? I know we're getting on kind of long here, but just the same. Are we done with modifications?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't have.
Do I have a motion to forward this draft of the bylaw with these changes to the Board of Selectmen?
Where's the 3 per month?
Okay, I'll
Do I have a second? Is there any discussion?
I would like to put in my recommendation that I do feel that we are being rushed on this, and
Well, I
we are
think-
cutting and pasting
I
this to
think
make a
that
timeline.
discussion would come after this vote.
Okay.
Yeah.
We asked for a discussion, so.
Okay, anything further on that?
Do we vote?
No. In favor?
Aye.
Okay,
So we've done the job that was asked for us to put together the bylaw, get it changed, and get it forwarded for the warrant, correct?
yes.
All right.
Okay. What is upcoming in terms of a vote is going to be our recommendation. I at least personally feel that I need to explain what and why my recommendation will be.
Oh, I do
I'd like
too.
everybody else to do the same, if they so please, on the board. And following that, then I will allow comments by the public. I have a number of problems with a lot of this bylaw, not so much the language of it, as, I guess I'll call it the cause, the origins, or whatever. And it seems some of the driving forces, first of all, were our situation with water and sewer. The amount of water and sewer capacity we have available is not by what's there. It's by municipal agreement. We have a municipal agreement that will only allow us to draw so much water. That can be changed, and likely it will be. You know, similarly with sewer. It's not how much room there is in the pipe, it's how much we're allotted to go down through the city of Worcester and wherever. That's open to negotiation. It can be changed. So, you know, basically, it's one of these things where, you know, 1, 2, 3 years, 5 years from now, you're not gonna turn on your faucet and find out there's no water coming out. You're not gonna flush your toilet and find out nothing goes down. And secondly, regarding water and sewer, it appears at least that there are some severe deficiencies in our water and sewer. And I don't know the numbers, I don't really care necessarily right now to hear about the numbers. But it appears that there's a large quantity of water that just seems to be disappearing into nothingness. Similarly with sewer, it appears that there's a whole lot more going through the sewer pipe than just plain sewerage. It seems to me that where the town should be making its emphasis, making a very, very concerted effort, is to correct those. Rather than do this. You know, if you got a leaky pipe in your house, you don't tell someone, hey, you can't take a shower till next week because the water bill's too high. You go and you fix the pipe. You know, that's just kind of what makes sense to me. The second thing that I guess has come up a lot is school budget. I can't say that a cap might not somewhat ease the burden from school. But once again, The school budget this year, forget about Rutland, the overall school budget this year increased by 4%,
Roughly 3.8 something like that.
okay? And that's pretty much been historic for years. This thing's not gonna change that. You know, there may be a few fewer kids, going into the schools, but I just really don't think it's gonna make a significant difference. They're gonna keep asking more per student, no matter what, including the existing students that we have right now. So, and again, I'm not saying this is wrong for that, I just don't see it as being effective. One of the things that also bothers me is there are apparently, and I don't know any number, there are apparently a number of other towns that have enacted similar bylaws. We haven't heard anything forensically about what has been the effect of those bylaws on those towns. What has been the physical impact, what has been the fiscal impact? It seems to me that that should be a part of an analysis before we do something like that. New growth. There is such a thing as new growth money. I am no fan whatsoever of relying on new growth money to fund the town. But by the same token, if we look at, 57 new houses, something like that, in this past year, at let's say an average of,
Fiscal year or the
yeah,
calendar
yeah,
year.
whatever,
Around 50.
yeah, okay. At, let's say, an average of $350,000 a year, I'd like to know, and I don't know, tax rate is, what, $16 and something? I don't know, whatever.
17,
Okay, how much new money came into our treasury from that new growth? It had to be a sizable amount. If this cap goes into effect, for next year, that amount will be cut by probably close to half. Okay, that could cause a serious impact in 1 year. Okay, and like I say, I don't like relying on that kind of stuff because it's unpredictable. 3 years from now, the economy could crash and we're not getting any new growth and we still have to pay bills. But just the same, it's out there. It's just a fact. I'm not saying good or bad, but it's there. And finally, and this was something that Mitch Ricchetti brought up at the public hearing that I feel is pretty darn important. The business climate. I kind of think that there has at least been a desire to attract more business to the town of Rutland. What is business going to be looking for? They're gonna be looking for a chance to grow. They're gonna be looking for growth in the town. It certainly, putting a cap like this on this cannot help that climate. It's got to make people much more wary. I can just picture, and hey, maybe nobody wants a McDonald's in town. But you can be very, very sure that McDonald's, when they look at moving into a particular town, they do a very, very good demographic study, including what's gonna be the growth in the area. And if they see that it's really restricted, it's got to affect their decision pretty severely. Anyway, with all of those things, and this is personal, by the way, I'm not campaigning, I'm not trying to change anybody's mind here. It's my own personal feelings, and that's all. But I just don't feel that I can I don't think I can vote for a favorable recommendation on this bylaw. I just don't. So, and I'll leave it to anybody else that wants to say anything.
I think that one of the jobs of the, excuse me, the subcommittee, and I'm the chair of the subcommittee, is to assist other groups in town who want to write a bylaw. And that's what we've been doing with this one. It was the Growth Management Committee came to us with the bylaw, and, we've been trying to tighten it up and make it look like a bylaw. The concern that I have is that there, it does not seem, there's nothing in here that, talks about grandfathering, any kinds of growth that's going on in the town at the moment. And coming from a group of New Hampshire Yankees, I was always told not to change your horses in midstream. And I think that, that's my concern and my problem with this, as well as what Norm talked about, is that I feel strongly that you need to look at the growth, what's taking place in your town now, rather than kind of put the brakes on and come to a screeching halt, or change your horses. So anyway, that's my speech.
You wanna go any further with your
Well,
comments of earlier?
I like the point that you made about seeing if these work. It's without doing the research, if these work, it's like taking a drug for a test and thinking it's going to work without having the research to back it up. How do you put your faith in that? So, I feel that I am for managed growth, but this needs time. When we worked on the marijuana bylaw, how many months did it take?
Forever.
Yeah, it took months, and we're being asked to do this. Why? To get up on this town meeting, and I think because some people they want to rush that agenda, and they may have all the rights that they want to do that. I'm for managed growth myself, but doing it the right way, researching it, finding the facts for if it works, instead of cutting and pasting a bunch of towns that already did it and saying, okay, that just doesn't seem right.
I do have, were you finished?
Yeah, let me get them.
I do have one other reason that I have a problem with the bylaw, is that we really haven't had time to develop what the process is. And I think we're leaving Will out here with, people pounding on his door with applications, and we haven't looked at that. We haven't established a process as to how it's going to be enforced.
Or how it's going to affect his job as a town employee.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think I asked them to come in? It's one of those things that it probably should have Will should have been involved earlier.
Earlier, possibly.
But there again, I will make a few comments. I don't want to, but I will. A number one, that's why we have
I
such.
forgot my bleeper.
Well, you're lucky enough there's a number here. Maybe I will not use my, knock it off, my farm language, BS. Far as I'm concerned, we had Central Mass Regional Planning come in here. We had Ron do a very good job for the amount of time and effort that he can try to put into any of this, plus all the effort that the steering committee did too. I have to say I believe there was 20 in Worcester County, I believe, or 20 or 22, I thought, towns had already done this. You're right, it would have been nice to know what the outcome was, and it was asked very late in the project and then not in the beginning of it. It would have been a good thing. But we've got to start someplace. You mentioned the school, and to me, why isn't the school stuck with a 2.5% increase like the rest of us? This is not right. That's one of the reasons why I think we're being hurt. And from, I don't know how many years back, I can go back, way back, and a lot of selectmen way back then, we need more growth. Well, even back then, for crying out loud, it was just, it was just not gonna work out, period. Not bringing enough money to cover things. But I have to say, we have to start someplace, and it is working in various towns, but how well or what it is, we'll see. You were saying to me, we have a couple of large debts that are going to be paid off, and so now if we start going down, hopefully that will help the residents in this town. You know, maybe they will do something about the taxes if they don't have debt. Yeah, I doubt it. I
I'd
doubt
still
it.
say fix the sewer and water system.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. Maybe, how much is it, how much are we paying for, the sewer line? Maybe we ought to hire somebody with a truck and just start hauling it down there, probably cheaper. Who knows? There probably are newer ways of handling sewer treatments nowadays compared to what we were looking at a couple of years ago. I don't
Quite a
know,
few
I have
years.
no idea, so. But, I agree, Norm, we got a lot of water in that reservoir that we could be using, and why is DEP telling us what we can or cannot do? That does not make sense. And, perhaps, this would set aside a little bit of time for us to find out.
I have to agree with all of you. This is not a viable bylaw. There are too many questions, too many open ends, and we've gone through a lot of it, but it's not ready.
Guess I'm last.
You're last.
I somewhat agree with Dick's opinion. We've got to start somewhere, so I'm not saying this is a perfect bylaw, but my concern is more on the town services. We've grown so fast to the point where town services have been basically level funded for the last 5 years, which does not lead to anything being repaired, fixed, or staffed to do anything. And so I'm taking the schools sort of out of it and the water out of it. I'm looking at it from the town services. And that's where my biggest struggle is. So I don't think this bylaw is perfect. I do agree with Sean and everybody else that it's been a little rushed. But I think I think we need to start somewhere, and I think this is where to start. Can it be modified? Of course it can be modified. That's what the bylaw subcommittee's there for, to modify bylaws that are brought before them. So I guess my perspective is I'll support it. I just think we've got to start somewhere. And unfortunately, we haven't over the last 15 to almost 20 years I've been here. We've just let growth, I don't want to use the word rampant, but growth continue. And it's gotten to the point where with the school budgets, the town budgets, it's unsustainable. And some of our neighbors are going to find that out soon in the Wachusett community, that this is unsustainable. And I just think we need to take the step that some of the other communities around us have done and institute a growth management bylaw. And if we find out that 5 years is too long, again, bring it before the town in the next and make it 3 years. We have that ability with a bylaw to change. So I guess my opinion is it's not perfect, but it's a start, and I'm going to support it.
One other thing, we need infrastructure. We need to start pushing for the roads that were originally thought of years ago, the bypass in Holden, to eliminate the traffic trying to get into Worcester, and Route 49, to put it in and finish it. We need it. Amen, Brother Ben.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
We take a
we-
straw vote?
No, no straw vote. What I am gonna do is, just ask the committee, do I want to open this to public session first, or do we want to take a vote on the recommendation first?
I would say vote.
Well, through the chair, let me ask a question. This is something that's been on my mind, both chairs actually. I've seen this in town meeting before where the take no action has come up on a bylaw. I'm not saying I'm for that, I'm just saying, what effect does that have on this bylaw? Because you can be for or against, or I've seen in town meeting, take no action. So I need to ask.
No action means nothing happens on it.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. I'm just asking that question, putting it out there, I guess, is what I'm getting at. That's it, just to confuse things more.
That comes as the form of a motion on the town floor.
Okay.
Not as a recommendation.
Okay. I wanted to ask, because I'd seen that happen before on warrant items that nobody, that basically we wanted to bypass.
Yeah,
So,
but
okay.
that's as a motion on the town.
Okay,
the town
thanks.
meeting floor. Any more thoughts on whether going to an open session or take the vote first?
I'd like to hear what the public has to say.
I'd like to take the vote first, because then they may shorten
And the
public
public.
discussion.
I want to listen to what George has to say.
All right,
It's going to be very short now.
Okay.
because Most of
Mhm.
you people have answered all the concerns that I have, like what Dawn talked about, what you talked about, was the growth, is we do need growth, because you people, every time I've submitted a plan with some retail on it or something, you said, do some retail. Why are you doing just storage? Why are you doing just condos? Why are you doing this? So I applied to, McDonald's, Market Basket, other markets for Route 122, because it would be nice to have something like that in town, which would help our tax base. And when they put up their tracks across the roads and all that,
Traffic count.
traffic count,
Mm-hmm.
everyone came by and said, you have fair traffic in the morning, you have fair traffic at night, but what this town needs is growth. Otherwise, we cannot support any business in this town, because you do not have the growth of the, what's gonna happen to McDonald's between 9 and 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon? They said that people will be sitting there twiddling their thumbs. The market said their staff won't have nothing to do and they won't be selling anything. It would be lovely to have a market basket in this town or something like that, rather than me running to Spencer or Holden or what have you. So what we really need is growth. And what we're looking at here is to limit the housing builders, and that's what we're attacking. And you're totally on the wrong thing. I'm not totally inexperienced with business. I was a superintendent of General Electric Corporation with 500 and something people, handled multi-million-dollar budgets, and we're tackling it the wrong way. Totally the wrong way. And I'm not going to be wise, I think all you people, and some of them do. I was very impressed with some of the comments that you people gave at the end, because I thought we were all one way. But it's not all one way, and some of yous are with us, and we appreciate that, because it is not just your town, it is that town, and not a couple of individuals that are posting signs on the, do they have permits to post those signs? They're posting signs, do you like your growth, do you like the traffic? We should have more traffic, they should put a sign, we welcoming traffic, because that's what we need to make this town grow. And not signs up there that some meatballs putting up saying that, do you like your traffic? That should not even be allowed on these posters in town. Because I can't go put what I want like that. Can I go put what I want? So somebody should stop that. Thank you very much.
Please.
So, I just have a couple of things. First of all, has anyone given any thought to what, from a value, land value standpoint, this would do? Because how many developers are gonna come here and buy anything? I mean, I'm a developer, so I build in many different towns, and what am I looking for? I'm looking for towns that want houses, right? If I come to a town like this, and there's a 36 permit cap, why would I buy land, invest in land in this town, and build a subdivision? And so what you're saying is, you don't want any of that by this bylaws. What the bylaw is saying is, you don't want anybody to come in and buy any land, so anybody who's owned big tracts of land in town before, like Ernie Fales, I bought his land from him, and, the different things like that, those parcels are gonna be worthless. Or no one's gonna buy them and subdivide them, I can tell you that. And the ones that are here, as Marilyn said, if you don't grandfather, all you're doing is encouraging us to be able to have to go somewhere else to get a permit. It doesn't make sense. 36 permits a year. Tim, you mentioned services are strained. Honestly, speak to the people who to control those departments, because I did.
I got the finance person telling me everything I need to hear.
You know what? That's one person. Ask the people who really do it. There's no strain on services. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I'm gonna make that comment. There is no strain on services. There isn't. And if you didn't have new growth in the budget, and you take the land values, so I can get 9 permits a year, right? That's all I'm gonna get. You don't think I'm gonna abate the other 250 lots I have? Because I am. I have to. They're worthless. I mean, you know, the assessor that was sitting up there, Mr. Jarvie said, they're worth something, yeah, but they're not worth what I'm getting charged for now. So give some thought to what land values, what's gonna happen to land values if you're only gonna issue 36 permits in this town. That's number one. Uxbridge is where this, did anybody read the Telegram this morning? They're getting rid of the town manager in
Yeah,
Uxbridge,
so-
right? This permit, I mean, this bylaw, I think was kind of fashioned after Uxbridge's, right? Am I right about that?
No.
What they said at the steering committee when I was there on March 18th was, they read the one from Uxbridge and they kind of liked it because it went through and it's that. So they're having financial problems. Geez, I wonder why. Because they got a permit cap. Believe me, if you put a cap of 36, the builders, we're not gonna be able to take a purchase and sale agreement, because I can't tell somebody when I can build their house. So what it's gonna do is I'm gonna only be able to spec homes. It doesn't make, because if I take a purchase and sale agreement, and down the road, there's, somebody's looking for, they wanna be in 4 or 5 months or before school starts or something like that, man. Well, at the end of the year, guys, maybe there's gonna be some that are gonna be left over. So for the last 20 years, for the last forever, there's never been a cap on building permits in Rutland. For over 20 years, it's been 60 per year. That's an average over the last 20 years, with no cap. Over the last 10 years, the average has been 38. This is all according to your studies, not mine. Now, if you have a cap of 36, you're not gonna have an average of 36, because it's not gonna work that way. It's gonna be down here, we're gonna be average of maybe 20 or 25, because I'm not gonna invest in this town. I'm gonna go do a 40B on anything that I have here. I have to, because I can't get a permit here, and I'm gonna completely walk away. I'm not gonna build any more commercial buildings. We're not gonna build it, because, not because I don't want to, because I love Rutland. I lived here my whole life. I was born here, I was raised here. I don't wanna live anywhere else, but I can't invest in this town because it doesn't have any growth. It just doesn't have anything. This thing is gonna totally devastate everything. I mean, you talk about water and sewer. Just quickly, I'm not gonna go into, I watched the finance committee meeting on TV the other night. Joe Buckley said for every 3.5 gallons of water that's being infiltrated or inflowed into the system, only 1 is being metered. So the selectmen's idea was shut off all the metered flow and don't do anything for the last 5 years, because I got the stats from the town, on I&I. So that's a good way to do it. You got 3.5 gallons of I&I and 1 gallon of metered flow. Now, water and sewer is an entity upon itself, but they don't go after the town's taxes for that. Everybody who pays water and sewer fees pays into that, and they use that to pay the fees. Well, right now, they're about 400 grand in the hole, because they can't pay for all the clean water going in the system the select board chose over the last 5 years to do nothing about. And they charge us an I&I charge on our water and sewer bill, and they charge me $1,000 for every permit. Every permit I take out to connect to the sewer, they charge me an I&I charge of $1,000 for every permit. They put that in a fund, and they're supposed to take the I&I out of the system. It was working well before, they were doing something, but for the last 5 years, at least from the information I got from the town, they haven't done anything, except put a moratorium on, which doesn't allow for any more metered flow to go in, and doesn't allow for anybody to within that system, to add people to the system so that this gets spread over, the rates get spread over more people. If you don't spread the rates over more people, it's gonna screw everybody up, because the people within it are gonna pay more, because costs go up every year. It's crazy. This building permit cap is gonna do nothing. You know, you guys talk about subdivisions in your bylaw. There's not gonna be an issue with that, as I said before, because no one's gonna be doing any subdivisions. It's gonna be gone. So that's about all I have to say, but probably enough.
George?
George Kurtzy, 212 East County Road. I believe that the subdivision bylaw, or this managed growth bylaw that's being presented is ill-conceived. I think it's rushed. I think it's poorly drafted. I think it's ill-conceived. I think it's based on fabricated crisis. The sky is falling with an agenda that's been pushed down the board saying we need this thing to be, we need to resolve a problem, and they've created this crisis. But the bylaw, this bylaw doesn't solve any of the actual problems. First of all, it creates new ones immediately, because there'll probably be a lawsuit challenging that, almost immediately, so there'll be new problems that'll be created. But it, not only will it create new problems, it's gonna exacerbate the old ones. The budgets are going up. You noted that the budgets are going up. What Norm's noted, and it's part of his talk, talks about that the issues that the town does face, this bylaw doesn't deal with, and it doesn't. The budget's going up for the school system, the budget's going up in this town, 4%. What's not going up is gonna be the new growth money. That money's gonna disappear. So when that money's gone, there's gonna be nothing to pay this. Tim was talking about level funding. How are you gonna level fund if how are you gonna get increases? You wanna talk about increasing the monies for existing departments, but you're going to be reducing the amount of money that's coming in. With an increased budget anyways, this is working backwards. And what's noted is the town's not subject to 2.5, Proposition 2.5, but the town is. So although the schools don't have to face it, we will. So there will be 2.5 overrides, because there's no new monies. If you carry this, what's taking place here, let's assume if reducing building, cutting out new growth monies was the answer, reduce it to 0. If there were no new building permits and no new building here, would that be a good thing for this town, or would we be able to pay the same amount that we need for the increased budget? When the budgets go up and the school department's looking for 4%, and you don't want to do level funding, you want to increase that, there's going to be no money available for that. And as far as water and sewer, that problem has existed, Norm raised that problem. It existed before 1980, because the first lawsuit, one of the cases I read, was Gallo versus the town of Holden and Rutland, 1980, I&I. And it was the same problem then. And it's been a problem for 40 years without resolution. And this is not going to fix that. This is not gonna fix the hundreds of thousands of gallons that are unaccounted for when a house uses 200 to 300 gallons a day. We're talking about a 200-gallon use, and we have a 200,000-gallon problem. As far as what DEP says with Mushapock, there's plenty of water in Mushapock. Holden used to use it, but we just haven't applied to increase the flow. It's available there. There's no issues on that. And there's been 0 effort paid to actually resolve the problems. There's been a moratorium with little effort to resolve this. And now the answer is shut the town down. Cut out the number of permits. And the whole thing is hype. It's exaggerated, it's a created crisis, and this is not solving the problem. Whatever the agenda is that pushed this, it's not to solve this problem. It's gonna be new problems that are coming down the road for this town. And you're gonna lose, there will be abatements of tax values, so budget monies that are coming in, the revenues that are coming in are decreasing. I&I monies that are coming in from applications are going to be decreased. And those are monies, those are fresh, new monies that are being put into the system to pay for old problems. They disappear under this program. This is a bad design, it's ill-conceived. And I challenge you to think of what the real agenda behind it.
Anyone else?
Did you have something? No.
At this point, no, it was just about you already made a motion to forward it as is, so doesn't make a difference now.
Okay, ready for the vote. I guess the way I'm planning on doing it is, I will entertain a motion to, make a favorable recommendation. If that does not pass, then I will ask for a motion, for the board to make a unfavorable recommendation.
If I may, can we make a motion to table it until next town meeting? Because that would give us all summer and,
That's not up to us.
no, okay. Well, I'll motion not to recommend it. Don't change it.
Well, the
Okay,
motion,
I'll-
first he wants a motion to recommend.
Oh, okay. All right.
Unless nobody wants to make the motion to, make it favorable.
Favorable recommendation,
Okay.
so.
Do I have a second?
Oh, wait. I have discussion.
You got a second first.
If there is no second, then we're gonna have to go to the other vote.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
Yes, this is where I want to discuss. I'm not ready yet to make a vote for either one is what I want to get at before we started down this path. I want to think, because typically we have made these decisions at our before town meeting where we've had a meeting before the town meeting, and haven't we, if I remember this right?
This is a meeting before town meeting.
No, I mean at town meeting.
Oh.
Am I wrong in that aspect? Okay.
Not that I can recall.
If I may, Norm, are you asking to see what the town, like instead of asking coming to a public hearing, because more people will go to the town meeting than came to the public hearing,
Yes.
ask their opinion at that?
We
we
can't,
do
we
that?
can't make a recommendation. Our recommendation comes immediately following Finance Committee's recommendation.
Okay,
correct.
Before anyone else speaks.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, the motion on the floor is for a favorable recommendation, correct?
Correct.
Okay, any further discussion, once again? Those in favor, aye.
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 Those opposed,
Nay.
No,
No.
nay.
the motion is defeated.
Did you? I didn't hear you say
Defeat.
anything. Okay.
What?
She was sitting right next to me, but I didn't hear you spoke so soft.
Defeat. Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, well, the thing is that this has to be a vote of the planning board.
Oh, that's-
Oh, that's right, okay.
So you don't get the vote.
Excuse
Oh,
me.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry about that, in this case.
Just to clarify, Bonnie is on the subcommittee bylaw meeting, not the planning board, so.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion for the planning board to give an unfavorable recommendation on this bylaw.
I so move that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I think I know how this is gonna
Well,
go.
Hey, hey,
I know.
I go as close
got-
as I
you gotta
possibly
do-
can by the book.
You're doing exactly what you're supposed to.
Not saying
Norm.
it's perfect, but
No, you're doing exactly what you're supposed to.
And I think that's my reason. I don't think we're doing this by the book. This whole rating is, I think we're being rushed, but that's a discussion, so.
okay, any discussion, once again?
No, I agree in terms of discussion with what was said before, that it's not really ready. Not ready for prime time.
Okay, in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
All right.
Aye.
The motion carries. And with that, I'll entertain
Motion to
a
adjourn.
motion to
Who-
adjourn.
Oh, you got it.
You had said earlier that people could talk about any matter that came up. A&R, that A&R on Turkey Hill.
Yeah,
I don't know the board's rationale behind it. I would just, so, it was an approval not required plan. It's a matter of just reading what the statute says. Any person who believes that their property does not present a subdivision may apply to the board for an approval not required endorsement on a plan. So the question is, does the plan present a subdivision? And the only issue is whether or not this property has sufficient frontage on a public way.
okay.
Frontage and acreage.
No, that's not what the statute says.
That's what our attorney said, right?
Well, I just want to be careful because,
Let's, I guess, maybe I'm just getting tired.
I'm hungry.
because I'm gonna have to appeal this, and I don't want to do that if there's,
Have you furnished Mr. Blair with a copy of,
I've not yet,
Town council.
I think, I have my copy for the file, here, extra copy.
Oh, I'm sorry.
and now that it has been discussed, that is public.
It's public knowledge at this point, it can be distributed.
So, my very strong suggestion is you hash it out with Amy Questle of AP Law.
I would have had that this year, but the question that's presented to the board, and I just, for the record, I just want to present to the board. So the board, you have town council, you will deal with town council. The question before you is, you're looking at the statute under 81P. 81P says, any person wishing to cause a plan to be recorded where the subdivision control law is in effect, who believes that his plan does not require approval under the subdivision control law, may submit his plan to the planning board in the manner described, and if the board finds that the plan does not require approval, it shall forthwith, without a public hearing, endorse approval under the subdivision control law not required. All right? So basically, if my plan is not presenting a subdivision, you must endorse approval not required. Then you turn to what is a subdivision. 81L defines subdivision. And subdivision under 81L is a division of a tract of land into 2 or more lots, which this is, all right? Except on a public way or way of the clerk certifies is maintained and used as a public way, provided that it has the requisite frontage on the public way, having frontage on a public way. So we have frontage on a public way under the town, that exceeds the minimum required. This board does not make a determination of buildability. It only makes a determination of frontage.
I'm only speaking for myself, but I guess I'm going to say, Mr. Gritz, you could have saved yourself a few calories and a lot of breath. I've heard this thing read so many times. In this case, I am not going to try to interpret it.
That's why we sent it to town council,
It's
right?
not.
So what did town council say? I mean, just,
That's what we don't know. We don't know what they said.
I mean, if they,
I don't think they were given the right information.
That's what they said.
Let the lawyers battle it out in court.
That's right.
I mean, it's gonna cost the town dollars, and I have to sue it. It's crazy. Let's do it right.
And I was misspoken, it's not acreage, you corrected, it's just frontage. I
See,
misspoke.
right here, the first sentence is where it's wrong.
what's that?
The first paragraph is what she wasn't given the correct information, or she didn't understand it. She says it only has 153 feet of frontage and it requires 200 feet. It only requires 50 feet,
Why?
because those lots only require 50 feet of it. Tell them why it requires 50 feet.
That's-
Well, first of all, I was under the impression that it is a buildable lot. So, but that's a different issue. So, it is a buildable lot. But we're not determining buildability, we're determining whether or not it's A&R.
Yeah, whether it's a lot or a parcel is what I keep gathering. I'm not an attorney, so.
It's right
I
here.
read through this a couple times and I was trying to figure out, she was using, I shouldn't say she, the firm was using lot and parcel as definitions, and that's where I was, this is above my pay grade.
This is,
So therefore,
I'm gonna absorb her, see what it is.
Yes.
I thought we had minimum frontage. We do have minimum frontage, which is 50 feet. But whether or not it's, okay.
See that right there? I just don't understand.
Yep, thank you.
It's an
I wish I had
R6, it's an R60 zone, 200 feet of
I'll
frontage.
do it.
All right, so
So this
the
can be.
answer is, we're sending it to, I'm just getting a summation right now. We're sending it to the select board in the form that we put it in,
Well,
and
it'll
then,
be to the select board through the town administrator.
correct. And then when it comes to the recommendation,
Town meeting.
after the town meeting,
Well-
after the,
Dave, you might want to do a little clarification on this, because, and to be perfectly honest with you, I still don't quite understand. You talk about us creating a report, which sounds like it can be anything, and I don't think we've ever done it before.
you mean for a recommendation, a report for a recommendation?
The bare bones of a report is like in the case of the marijuana bylaw from last year, where the board didn't take a position on that bylaw one way or the other. The report was basically information to the public that the board had the hearing as required, the board considered the following topic, and the board, maybe some background history of it. That is that's the most basic form of a report. A report is not required unless the town meeting is within 21 days of the hearing. So in this case, the report is required, but the report can be very much a minimal document. If this hearing happened more than 21 days from town meeting, there would not be any report necessary at all. This is just in distinction to the planning board taking a vote to endorse it one way or the other. If that's not the will of this board, then the report would just be, the board had a hearing on a certain matter, a certain topic, which would be Article 3 on such and such a date. The bylaw was brought forth by such and such a group as part of such and such, extension of a prior project, the phase 1 and phase 2 going back to 2017. So,
You looking for an outline of how we went through this process?
no, I'm attempting to answer the question as to what is required of the board in terms of a recommendation and a report.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that the report is a bare minimal document that is required if it's within 21, if the hearing of the planning board is within 21 days of town meeting, then a report in writing is necessary. If it's more than 21 days, the report in paper is not necessary. But at a bare minimum, it just outlines what the board did.
That's what I was getting at, Dave. Since we're within 21 days, we need to put together an outline of a bare minimum
Well,
report. to have-
staff will do that.
Okay, and that's presented to the select board?
That's gonna be the handout, basically.
Okay,
The handout will be distributed to the select board through the town administrator, to the finance committee, and to the public. And
Is
that-
it- I'm sorry, go ahead.
If the board has a vote that it's also has taken as part of its proceedings, then that vote would be absorbed into the report.
That's what I was gonna ask. Okay.
So yes, so the board has taken a vote on this matter, so that vote would become would that be probably one of the concluding sentences of the report?
So it's an informational document for people to be handed out at the town
Correct.
meeting.
And then probably the heavy lift on this is going to be the main body of the bylaw proposal is going to be the main part of this report.
Okay.
The rest of it will be a brief summary, as I will do for the technical changes, just a brief outline for why the board took that matter and what the board did.
I guess, if Dave does that and sends it to us,
We don't need to take any action.
okay, that's what I was getting at. What do we need to do?
Well, I'm not sure with all due respect, I'm not sure I understand your question. What do you?
I'm trying to find out, when you finish that up,
Yes.
do we need to do anything, review it, anything like that? Or is
I
it
will
just-
send it to the board as as information as I've done on the previous go-around. If the board sees any factual discrepancies, please let me know, and I will.
And we can send that back to Dave without any open meeting violation. We just can't send it among
You
ourselves. We send
you
it-
can't discuss the matter collectively through any medium except a public meeting or hearing.
But I could send you comments back, and that's considered a non-open meeting.
That's correct.
Okay,
But
that's
I would
all I
only
want-
advocate if there's an issue with factual information.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure.
I think the board has already gone on record in terms of what it would like to do with the bylaw and what its general feeling is.
Correct. I just wanted to make sure that I have an avenue to get comments back into you if something I see that doesn't make sense to me or a question without open meeting violation. So if I go direct to you and I stay out of that, I'm fine.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
Did we have a motion to adjourn yet?
You just did now. A motion to adjourn. Come on, hit the button.
So before I accept that, is there anything else to come before the board?
Sorry?
No. Do I have a-
I was gonna say, second.
I heard a motion and a second. In favor?
Aye.
Aye.